London, February 27. TASS, Russia's ambassador to Britain Aleksandr Yakovenko will urge London to retaliate against armed groups in Syria's Eastern Ghouta for compliance with the UN Security Council resolution, at a meeting due on Tuesday at the British Foreign Ministry, a source in the embassy's press service told TASS. The ambassador will urge the British side to use its power, which London does wield, against armed groups acting in Eastern Ghouta and not only there, for compliance with the Resolution 2401 of the UN Security Council, which is a key factor for a successful implementation of the UN Security Council's targets, he said. Reportedly, militants continue provocations in Syria, apparently not being interested in providing access for humanitarian aid and relieving sufferings of civilians in Eastern Ghouta. We expect foreign protectors of anti-governmental armed forces to fulfill their obligations and ensure ceasefire for the good of humanitarian convoys to pass as soon as possible. It is also important to make sure that the truce envisioned by the resolution is not used to cover the back of terrorists, the source explained. Yakovenko also will point to unacceptable efforts of the British side to allocate responsibilities for the situation in Syria to Russia. The ambassador will make it clear that we absolutely do not accept the attempts of the British to place the responsibility for the humanitarian situation in Syria on Russia, whilst covering the back of terrorists who kill peaceful civilians and use them as human shields in Eastern Ghouta, the diplomat said. As reported earlier, Russia's ambassador to London has been summoned to the British Foreign Office over the situation in Syria's Eastern Ghouta. British Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson said while speaking at the country's parliament on Monday, that he had invited the Russian ambassador to come to the Foreign Office and give an account of his country's plans to implement Resolution 2401. An embassy spokesman told TASS earlier that Yakovenko would meet with Minister of State for Europe and the Americas at the British Foreign and Commonwealth Office Alan Duncan on February 27. On February 24, the United Nations Security Council passed a resolution demanding that the parties to the Syrian conflict cease hostilities for at least 30 days so that humanitarian aid can be provided to civilians. All the 15 Security Council member states, including Russia, supported the document. According to the resolution, the ceasefire will not apply to military operations against the Islamic State terror group, outlawed in Russia, and other terrorist groups. Russia's Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu said on Monday that a daily humanitarian pause from 9 o'clock to 1400 would be declared in Syria's Eastern Ghouta starting February 27, in order to prevent civilian casualties, and a humanitarian corridor would be set up so that civilians can leave the area.